Have you ever noticed how some products just totally grab people's attention while others that are, maybe just as good kind of fall flat?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a question every business owner has probably asked themselves at some point. Like, why does one thing take off and another doesn't when they both seem to have so much potential?
Well, on today's deep dive, we're going to explore this whole idea of selling a feeling, not just features.
Right, like it's not enough anymore to just talk about what a product does, like the specs and all that.
Exactly. It's about how it makes the customer feel.
Makes total sense, especially today when people have so many choices and so much information coming at them.
We found some super interesting examples of brands that are really nailing this whole emotional marketing thing.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
We'll get into the specifics, but think like even stuff as basic as olive oil or even water.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Water. That sounds like a challenge.
Right. But these brands have found a way to make it cool, make it aspirational.
That's a real skill, finding that emotional hook for something so everyday.
And that's what we're going to unpack today, especially for those of you out there building your own businesses.
Like, how do you make that connection with your customers that goes beyond just the transaction?
So let's rewind a bit, because this whole selling a feeling thing, it's not exactly new, is it?
No, not at all. But it's definitely evolved over time. Like, if you think about the early 1900s, marketing was much more straightforward.
You mean like, here's the product, here's what it does, here's the price.
Exactly. A great example is the Sears catalog. This was huge back in the day for bringing all kinds of goods to people all over the country, and they mainly just listed items with simple descriptions.
Purely functional, huh? Like no fancy stories or emotional appeals.
Right. It was all about utility and affordability. But then things started to change, especially around the 1920s.
What happened then?
Marketers started to realize that people weren't just buying products, they were buying into a better version of themselves.
They were buying an idea.
Exactly. So connecting with those desires, those aspirations, that became the new frontier in marketing.
And that's where someone like Edward Bernays comes in, right? I mean, his work is pretty legendary, even controversial.
Oh, yeah. Bernays was a master at understanding and using those psychological levers. And one of his most famous and, controversial campaigns was with the American Tobacco Company.
This is the Torches of Freedom campaign, right?
That's the one. Back then, it wasn't really socially acceptable for women to smoke in public. So Bernays was brought in to change that perception. And his strategy was brilliant, but also kind of manipulative.
In what way?
Well, he linked cigarettes to the women's liberation movement, which was gaining a lot of momentum at the time. Like, he staged this whole event during an Easter parade where a group of women dramatically lit up cigarettes and called them torches of freedom.
Wow, so smoking went from being taboo to being a symbol of empowerment.
Exactly. And it worked. Sales skyrocketed. Of course, now we know the health risks of smoking, but from a purely marketing perspective, Bernays' campaign was incredibly effective.
It really shows the power of tapping into those deep-seated emotions and cultural trends. Okay, so let's fast forward to today. And as I mentioned earlier, we've got some really interesting modern examples of brands doing this whole emotional marketing thing in some pretty creative ways.
I'm ready to hear them. Lay 'em on me.
All right, let's start with Graza. It's olive oil. So simple, right? But they've managed to create a whole vibe around it.
Olive oil, huh? That's interesting. I mean, it's been around forever. What are they doing that's so different?
Well, first of all, they're not just selling the oil itself. They're selling the feeling of being this cool, effortless home cook.
Like, I just whipped up this amazing meal, no big deal, and, oh yeah, I use a Graza.
Exactly. It's all about the experience and the identity associated with using their product.
I see. So it's aspirational, but in a very approachable way.
And they do a great job with their branding and marketing. Like, even their bottle is different. It's this squeeze bottle, not the traditional glass bottle you usually see.
Makes sense. A squeeze bottle is way more casual, more user-friendly.
Right. And it also makes a statement. Like, this isn't your grandma's olive oil.
And what about their social media? How are they using that to build this feeling?
Their Instagram is all about beautiful, simple meals, people just casually drizzling the oil, enjoying the process.
Mm-hmm.
It's not intimidating. It's inviting.
So they're really leaning into that idea of effortless cooking, making it feel accessible to everyone.
And it's working. Their first batch sold out super fast, and they've got this huge following online. People are really connecting with the brand.
That's impressive. Okay, what about the other example? Liquid Death, was it?
Yep. Liquid Death water. I mean, the name itself is pretty wild for something as basic as water.
It definitely grabs your attention, doesn't it?
And that's the point. They're all about being disruptive, rebellious, kind of like the anti-water brand.
Okay, now I'm really curious. How do they pull that off?
Well, they've got this whole punk rock aesthetic, like their cans look like tall boy beer cans, and their tagline is "Murder Your Thirst."
Murder your thirst. That's pretty intense for water.
Right. But it works because it's so unexpected, so in your face. And they market at places like death metal concerts.
Wow, that's definitely not your typical water drinking crowd.
And they lean into the humor, the absurdity of it all. Like they've got these mock horror movie trailers about killer water.
So they're basically making fun of the whole wellness industry, right?
In a way, yeah. And it resonates with people who are tired of the same old marketing messages.
So they're tapping into this feeling of being an outsider, someone who doesn't fit the mold.
Exactly. They've created this whole community of people who want to be part of something different.
I get it. It's like a statement, a way of rebelling against the mainstream.
And they've been incredibly successful with it. So both Graza and Liquid Death are great examples of brands that are selling a feeling, an experience that goes beyond the product itself.
Fascinating stuff. But what's the psychology behind all of this? Why do these emotional appeals work so well?
Well, research shows that our emotions play a huge role in our decision-making, even when we think we're being completely rational.
Yeah, we like to think we're making logical choices, but often our emotions are calling the shots.
There's this really interesting research by a neuroscientist named Antonio Damasio, who studied people with damage to the part of the brain that processes emotions.
And what did he find?
Well, these individuals, they had all the information they needed to make decisions, but they couldn't actually choose anything. Like even something as simple as picking out a product at the store became impossible.
Because they weren't feeling anything.
Exactly. It highlights how crucial emotions are to the decision-making process.
I see. So brands are tapping into that, using emotions to help us make those choices.
And social media is a huge part of that, right? It gives brands a direct line to connect with people on an emotional level.
Absolutely. It's like a constant stream of feelings and experiences. Like think about Grasa again. Their Instagram is all about creating that aspirational yet achievable feeling.
Yeah, those beautifully shot videos of simple food make you think, I could totally make that. And it would look amazing.
Right, and it would make me feel good, like I'm part of this cool, effortless cooking club.
Exactly. And then you've got Liquid Death, who are using social media in a completely different but equally effective way.
More in your face, right.
Yep. They're all about meme culture, creating content that's funny, shareable, and kind of edgy.
Like those horror movie trailers, people were probably sharing those like crazy.
For sure. And by doing that, they're spreading the brand message, but in a way that feels authentic. Like it's coming from your friends, not from a company.
That's smart. So it's not just about selling a product, it's about building a community around it.
Right. Both Graza and Liquid Death have done a phenomenal job of creating these communities where people feel like they belong.
Like with Graza, you're part of this group of people who appreciate good food but aren't pretentious about it.
And with Liquid Death, you're part of this rebellious kind of anti-establishment movement.
And that sense of belonging, that shared identity, is incredibly powerful. It turns customers into brand advocates.
And it generates so much organic buzz. Like you see those Liquid Death cans popping up all over social media. People are proud to be part of the in-group.
It's a brilliant strategy. So where do you think all of this is headed? What's the future of emotional marketing?
Well, one thing that's becoming more and more prominent is this idea of micro-emotional targeting.
Micro-emotional targeting, what's that?
It's basically using AI and data analytics to create hyper-personalized marketing messages that are designed to appeal to very specific emotional triggers.
So like instead of just targeting a general demographic, they're getting even more granular, understanding individual preferences and emotions.
Exactly. It's like how Netflix recommends shows based on your viewing history, but applied to marketing.
That sounds both powerful and kind of scary.
It definitely raises some ethical considerations, like how much is too much when it comes to manipulating people's emotions.
Definitely something to think about. So for our listeners out there who are building their own brands, what are the key takeaways from all of this?
I think the biggest one is that emotional connection is the new currency. People want to feel something when they buy a product, not just fulfill a need.
But that connection has to be genuine, right?
Absolutely. You can't just slap a trendy label on something and expect it to work. You have to really think about what emotions you want to evoke and make sure they're aligned with your brand values and the actual experience your product or service provides.
It has to be authentic, otherwise people will see right through it.
For sure. Another important takeaway is that building community is more important than ever.
Yeah, people want to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves.
So think about how you can create that sense of belonging for your customers, whether it's through social media, events, or even just the way you interact with them.
Make them feel value, like they're a part of the in-group.
Exactly. And the last thing I'd say is that innovation doesn't always mean creating something completely new.
You mean like you can find new ways to present something familiar?
Right? Like Graza did with olive oil. They took something that's been around for centuries and made it feel fresh and exciting.
By tapping into those emotional desires.
Exactly. So think about how you can reimagine your products or services in a way that resonates emotionally with your target audience.
Great advice. Any final predictions for the future of emotional marketing?
I think we'll see an even bigger emphasis on those micro-communities we talked about earlier, where brands are building really deep relationships with smaller, highly engaged groups of people.
So it's about quality over quantity.
And I think we'll see the lines between entertainment and marketing continue to blur, with brands becoming more like content creators and storytellers.
So it's not just about selling, it's about entertaining, informing, engaging.
Exactly. It's a really exciting time to be in the world of marketing, especially if you're willing to experiment, be creative, and connect with your audience on a deeper level.
It's all about building those meaningful relationships.
Well, that's about it for our deep dive today. For all of you listening, as you continue to build your own ventures, think about those emotions you're selling. Are they genuine? Are they adding real value to your customers' lives? Because at the end of the day, that's what matters most. Thanks for joining us on this exploration of the art of selling a feeling. We can't wait to see what amazing things you create. Until next time, keep those connections strong.
And keep those feelings real.